Hold up. I'm bugging. I'm tripping. Anita Baker, Sweet Love, one of my most favorite songs from one of my most favorite albums. And yes, it makes me think about somebody very special to me. But anyway, I'm tripping, I'm bugging. Let's get to the science, all right? Today I want to build on some old world science, some ancient science, drop some heavy jewels, all right? And nothing too crazy. And when I do this, like my purpose is not to offend anybody as far as like your holidays. Like I wish everybody happy holidays. I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade. You know, that's not my purpose. You know, my purpose is to shine light amongst the darkness and to resurrect the sleeping giant. And to, my purpose is love. My purpose is not hate. All right. So let's get right into it. I'll try to make this as concise as possible. So we're going to go back to the old world science and we're going to talk about how it's relevant today as well. We're going to see, and again, we're going to go back to ancient Kemet or Egypt. And, we can go further back to Atlantis. We can go further back to Lemuria. But let's stay right here for right now, all right? And I'm going to make this as concise as possible. And I'm going to do it according to the hieroglyphs. So we have the god Ausar, who's also known as Osiris. And we have the goddess Auset, who's also known as Isis, the goddess Isis, the queen Isis, Auset, and the god Ausar, also known as Osiris, all right? So it is said that, Osiris or Ausar learned to resurrect his divine principles within self. He through spiritual practice of meditation and breathing, he resurrected his divine essence, his life force essence, his prana, his chi, his kundalini. He circulated through breathing and meditation and resurrected up the back of his spine into his pineal and pituitary gland and opened his chakras and his crown chakra and third eye and resurrected the divine principles of morality and spirituality within self. He resurrected God within self. You understand? And in doing so, he was able to establish a society based upon love, peace, and prosperity. And he did this with his wife, Auset, or Isis, his queen, and they established a society, again, based upon love, peace, and prosperity, and based upon high principles of morality and spirituality, you understand? And under this society, the only people that could hold office in government would be people that were of high morality and who resurrected these divine principles of spirituality within themselves. You understand? So let's continue. Ausar had a brother. Osiris had a brother named Set, also known as Seth, also known as Satan, all right, which is very similar to Satan or Satan or Shaitan. You understand? So let's analyze and do the knowledge to the story and peep the allegory. All right. So Set was jealous. All right. He was jealous and envious of his brother Osiris. He was jealous of Ausar, and he wanted the power that Ausar had over the people. He was jealous and envious of the power that he had, and he was also jealous and envious of his wife Isis or Auset. So he set up to conspire with his own confederacy to overthrow his own brother and to kill his own brother. You understand? So he went into battle with Ausar, and he ended up killing his own brother. He ended up killing Ausar, aka Osiris. And in doing so, he chopped his body up into 14 pieces, broke his body up into 14 pieces and spread it amongst the land, and he did this out of spite. He did this because he was petty, because he was jealous, he was envious. He did this out of hate. You know what I mean? So, because he knew that, in ancient Kemet, there were certain burial rites and rituals that would take place, and the body needed to be whole in order to do that. And of course, this broke the heart of Isis. This broke the heart of the queen, of the goddess, Auset. Her heart was broken, of course. But she couldn't dwell in her heartbreak. She had to do what was right. And she sought out to find the pieces of her husband, Osiris. And she found 13 of his body parts and brought them back together. She didn't find one. She didn't find the penis. And we'll talk about that later in part 2. She didn't find the penis. The penis was said to be in the Nile River and eaten by a fish, right? According to the hieroglyphs. But she brought his 13 pieces of his body back together and wrapped him in what was known as the first mummy. And she performed the burial rites and rituals, all right? The ancient Kemetic burial rites and rituals. And it was said that Osiris came to her in the nighttime. His spirit came to her in the nighttime. And by the morning, she was pregnant. Her womb was full. You understand? So this was a miracle. This was an immaculate conception. You understand? And now she was pregnant. And she went off on the low and kind of hid her pregnancy by the banks of the river Nile. And basically, Set during this time, he ruled. He took his reins of rulership and took his brother's place. Now he was ruling, and he started to establish the first known empire. But he wasn't ruling under the divine principles of morality and high spirituality. He was ruling under the power of authority. He was ruling under the power of politics and policing. You understand? Much similar as what's going on today. So now, while he was ruling, the queen Isis, the queen Auset, the goddess Auset, she was pregnant, and she ended up giving birth to Heru. Heru is also known as Horus. You understand? So let's talk about this. So immaculate conception with Heru. Auset was pregnant with Heru. And Heru was said to be born, what's equivalent to December 25th. You understand? So immaculate conception, born on the 25th of December. Heru, aka Horus. All right? And was said to come from, acknowledged from the Eastern Star, and was adorned by 3 kings. All right? This is according to the story of the hieroglyphs. So we see the similarities between Heru, aka Horus, and Jesus Christ, the prophet Yahshua, Jesus Cristo. You understand? So we see the similarities. And what we know is, we know that everyone, all civilizations came to Egypt, to ancient Kemet, to get their knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, the knowledge of mathematics and science. And then they spread out and started their civilizations and religions and so forth. We know that everything came from Kemet. We know that we can go back further to Atlantis and Lemuria, but let's stay here, all right? Because we know that scientists now can prove that all human beings have the DNA that traces back to an original family in East Africa. And this is where this is all taking place. You understand? So now, boom, let's continue with the story. Now, Auset, the queen Isis, the goddess Isis, Auset was raising Heru, all right? And Heru, you know, he was going under rigorous, he was involved in rigorous physical training and rigorous spiritual training. And by the time he was 30, he was said to be baptized as a minister. But his divine purpose was to come back and get vengeance for his father. and he was to resurrect these divine principles of morality and high spirituality, and once again take reign over Kemet with these divine principles. You understand? So he set out, when he was 30, he set out to battle and to destroy Set, because Set had established this empire that was, again, it was ruled by the power of authority and politics and policing, much very similar to what's going on today. So he went to battle with Set a few times, and one of the battles, it was said that Set snatched Heru's eye and threw it into space. And later we'll see the science of the eye of Horus. You understand? The eye of Heru. So, but anyway, Heru was successful. He destroyed and defeated and killed Set. You know what I mean? And in doing so, he took rulership again. He took reign over ancient Kemet again, and he resurrected his father's divine principles of morality and high spirituality, and he brought his mother, Auset, back to the throne. He brought the Queen Isis back to the throne. So we can see in these stories, we can see, you know, are these actual physical events that happen, or are these stories that are telling what's going to happen in the world? You understand? Very much what's going on today again, you know, and also telling the classic story of the battle between good and evil, the battle between light and dark, you understand, or the battles of the higher self and the lower self, you know what I'm saying? And Heru was said to be the light, and Set was said to be the darkness, you understand, or the sunset unto darkness, you know what I'm saying? So again, we analyze these stories from the hieroglyphs, and we see how they're relevant. You know, were these physical events, or was this predicting the struggles that were going to go on in the world, predicting what was going to go on in the world? And also too, is this also the classic story of what goes on in every single human being? The battle between the higher and the lower self. So I'm going to build on part 2 because my video is about to run out. Respect, dude.